Hello, everybody. Welcome to PHTV Channel 4 in Palos Heights. I'm Sue Jankowski, and we are here with the Travel Show. I know you guys always really enjoy this show because we dream about all the wonderful places we can go. It's like a fantasy world, but you can make it a reality. And that's why Kathy is here today. Kathy, thanks for coming in today and talking about traveling with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and she brings with us George Landrides, and he is here. He actually works at Class Act Travel, and we're so glad that he's here because he's going to offer you a world of opportunities you may not know about that you can actually connect with Class Act Travel and get involved in a great trip or an event or anything. So welcome, George, today to our show. And George, tell us what kinds of things do people look for? What kinds of things can you offer when you're connecting with Class Act Travel? They're talking to you.
Well, there's a number of things that people call about. One of the latest ones in the last year or two is bucket list trips.
Oh, yes.
And actually, my wife and I, we're doing one in a couple of weeks. We're going to Australia and New Zealand for 3 weeks with a 14-day cruise. My wife said it's now or never. We're not getting any younger. And so that's what we're going to do. But I have a couple of trips that I'm just about done working on. In May, I have 3 couples going to Portugal for 10 days. Portugal's been very hot as far as travel goes in the last 10 years or so. And then there are 3 other couples going to Tuscany in September for also about 10 days, starting in Rome and then going up to Tuscany, and where they're going to be staying at a villa for a week. 5 bedrooms, 5.5 baths, and a gorgeous in-ground swimming pool with a view of the valley there.
And he found all this, and he booked all this on his own.
Wow. Well, before you go any further, let's just talk about some of the things you mentioned. First of all, apparently you and your wife have long wanted to go to Australia and New Zealand. Or is this just like it popped up and I'm just like, I want to do this?
Ever since I saw the Crocodile Dundee movies.
Going to have your alligator boots when you come back?
I don't know about that, but it's just a place I've wanted to visit for a long time, and finally we're going to get it done. And
that's a bit of a long trip. Do you start your cruise there in Australia, or do you cruise to Australia?
We're going to fly to Sydney, and we're going to spend about 3 days there seeing some of the sights. And then the cruise starts there, goes to Melbourne for a day with some sightseeing, then to Tasmania to visit the Tasmanian Devil.
Good.
And then it goes to New Zealand, and it spends about 10 days going around both islands of New Zealand with stops here and there to see the different sites.
Okay, so all in all, that will take about 3 weeks. It is quite a distance to get there, so you want to spend your time and enjoy being there.
Yes.
Okay, and this is great because it's nice to, if you're planning a trip that way, to be able to talk to somebody who's done it and the ins and outs. If someone wanted to plan a trip to Australia, you would, but I know you can help them through a trip even if you haven't been there. But particularly it seems good to be there.
Well, over the years, my wife and I, we've done lots of traveling. We enjoyed traveling. Her dad used to have a travel agency many years ago. So with the different trips we've taken, it gives us a lot of background and experience in preparing other trips.
That's good.
Just like the trip to Portugal, we did that for our 25th anniversary a number of years ago. So I've got some knowledge there of where to go, when to go, and the different sites to see. I've done it for other people. And the same thing with Tuscany. We've gone with friends where we flew into Rome and drove up to Tuscany and went through the different little towns, the walled cities and so on, and to the vineyards and things, and seen Florence and Pisa with the Leaning Tower. So we like to travel a lot, and that helps planning the trips too.
It does.
We've been there.
Well, that's kind of what we're good with as far as the knowledge of where you've been. Then you can share that knowledge with, say that you wanted to go there, we can share that with you and other people. And that's one of the real big advantages of using a travel agency, is because you're going to take part of our knowledge that we've worked at getting, and we're going to share it with you, and you're going to be better off for knowing that.
Well, you will, because otherwise sometimes you get somewhere and you think, well,
Now what do I do?
I don't know where to go.
Yeah, right,
I don't know
exactly.
what to see. What's
Or
important.
if you're going online to book a trip, or you're calling a 1-800 number with somebody's 3,000 miles away, you've never met them, you come into the travel agency and we're face to face, and
Yeah.
or on the phone, or we meet, you know, so.
Are you finding, both of you, that before we continue your opportunities there, are you finding that right now, due to pandemic, due to people having this bucket list kind of concept in their heads, that people are starting to get out and travel more?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you see that to be true?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Travel has picked up. We went to Cancun in first week in November. We just came back from Disney a couple of weeks ago. All the flights are full. People are traveling. After a couple of years of the pandemic, many of them did not go anywhere, so now they have to go.
Yeah.
They need a
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah, right.
Trying
that's
to book
true.
a cruise, trying to get people on cruises. If you get a cruise that they're willing to take, you can't get them there because the flights are all sold out.
Oh, no.
It's absolutely unreal how packed the planes are going from here to Florida, let's say, for the cruise. It's really tough to get this stuff. We had a resort one of our clients wanted to do out of Fort Lauderdale. We couldn't do it. She resorted to New Orleans.
Oh, my gosh.
Could not get her out of Fort Lauderdale.
I think, though, the amount of flights has reduced so much due to pilot shortages, et cetera.
And I
So-
don't think you're wrong
yeah.
on that. I would have to agree with you on that too. I do believe that it's caused that issue too. It's just amazing to me how many people want to get away from here, want to get.
We do. We
Yeah,
wanna
I
get
know. we do. We honestly do. People are
Well, we
like
do.
right
Yeah.
here.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's time because a lot of people, like you said, George, haven't traveled for quite a while, and now they want to go somewhere, and they want to go somewhere. A lot of times different, you know, than the usual, and which I think kind of just going to Portugal for starters is kind of different in my view.
Well, we do a number of custom trips where, as opposed to some sort of group trip with a company like Globus, which is very good, but people have ideas of where exactly they want to go. We use a company that has 170,000 hotel beds around the world.
Wow.
And we use a consolidator agency to try and get better flights, so we can do a day-by-day custom trip, and that's something that I've done and Kathy's done over the last couple of years more and more. So, you know, it isn't necessarily just bucket list, but just custom trips. We have 11 couples going to Riviera Maya in March. A young lady contacted me and said, I had cancer, I'm finishing up with chemotherapy, we can go in March, I want to go to Riviera Maya, I want to see if family, friends, neighbors can go, I want to celebrate, it's a celebration trip. 11 couples are going so
Wow.
far, and
I
they're
think that's
still
great.
adding.
Yeah.
Last year I had a family of 9 going to Maui to celebrate the wife, the mother's 70th birthday.
Nice.
And actually last night I was contacted by another lady who said, I want to go to Riviera Maya. It's my 60th birthday. I want to celebrate. And 3 other couples, their daughters, sons with their spouses, will be going along. So, you know, whatever works,
It's-
people just want to go and
Yeah.
travel, have fun, get away from some of the stress of everyday life.
That's it. The stress of everyday life is a good thing. Well, what other kinds of trips would you recommend?
The last 5 years or so, what's really picked up is destination weddings. That people have found that the cost of weddings here is quite expensive, in the tens of thousands of dollars. We've had let's see, I've had a Punta Cana trip that had 73 people going.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
Where a number of people stayed 5 nights, or others said, we're going to make this our family vacation for the year. They stay 7 nights. We've had others to Riviera Maya, to Cabo San Lucas. We had one this past October to Montego Bay, Jamaica, 30 people going. So actually I was looking at some things before we came over. Dreams Resorts has different packages that they offer. It could be just a couple by themselves getting married, could be up to 10 people, up to 50 people. And then they have one here, it says 50 to 79 guests, $7,500.
Wow, that's pretty reasonable.
80
Yeah.
to 100, 11,999.
That's still way cheaper than a wedding.
So
here is.
it's with a so that's just for the wedding ceremony. Usually it's a symbolic wedding, which a lot of people are doing. But many of the resorts also offer a priest or a minister if they're interested. But they have different varieties of food that they offer and beverages, so you can certainly upgrade. There's photography things, there's the flowers and stuff, a ceremony on the beach, the reception on the beach, or a patio at the resort near it. So we get calls for destination weddings, and we've done a number of them over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to have fun and have your family with you, but maybe it's more cost efficient, plus you get a vacation out of it.
Right.
The last part's the best part, to get a vacation out of
For,
it. Yes.
for the couple getting married, they can just extend it and continue it as a honeymoon. And then you've got other, especially family members, and even with little kids, depending on the resort, somebody telling their kids, well, so-and-so is getting married, we're going there, and the hotel is on a beach. So there's a beach, sand, pool, Gulf
Everything,
of Mexico or the ocean. The kids will say, yeah, sure, that's fine, no problem, you know.
I want to go.
Yeah. So it's an easy sell.
It is an easy sell, and people are doing that more. I just had a family member with their extended family go to Florida for a wedding on the beach. You know, so
And we're
it's done.
working with now one for the Florida Keys that she wants it all private on the beach. And we found one that has a house that has rooms in it to rent, so the family can stay right there, and it's all private. That is just theirs alone for the time.
Isn't that nice?
I think that's great. I
Yeah.
mean, I do, and I understand that. It's something that you'll never forget because you're on the beach, you're on the water, you've got all that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a nice option.
A very
for
nice option.
people.
And the prices, especially with Dreams, like George was saying, that's reasonable prices.
For sure.
And other resort chains are
Yes.
similar prices, Riu, Iberostar, you name it. They all have these different packages that they offer. And hey, you're in a sunny place, unlike Chicago, and it's warm. I have my
what
snow
sun?
shirt on for tomorrow's snow coming in. So, you know, another thing that we do is it's not bucket list, but it's sort of in a way with Viking River cruises and others. I mentioned I'd seen on Facebook somebody had posted a couple, I don't know, in their 70s or 80s, 60s, I'm not sure. They were in a gondola in Venice, and the gondoliers on the back of the gondola laughing very hard because this couple is passed out sleeping on the gondola. And the post says, "Don't wait too long,"
And
and that is
true.
true.
Yeah.
You don't know how your health is going to be, but if you're able to work out your personal life and family responsibilities and finances, if you can do it, got to go someplace.
Gotta do it.
Don't wait until you fall
Until you fall
asleep
asleep.
in the gondola.
Which,
Not good.
wow, you're missing everything.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's so true, and that is still a bucket list kind of thing. So do the bucket list earlier than
Than later.
than you think.
Don't wait
Yeah.
too long.
No.
Well, it's you're cheating yourselves too out of missing some of the things in the world that you can see. Even if you don't want to go overseas, what's wrong with touring the United States?
Nothing.
We have a lot of cool things in this country to
yes.
see too. So that's another thing to do. Alaska, Hawaii, the national parks out west. There's tours that take you to 3 or 4 different national parks. The old time train rides out there. I mean, it's just there's a lot in this country to see if you just don't want to go out of the country.
Right, there totally is. So if someone wanted to just do something within the country, but say they were older and they really didn't want to do the driving, drive out west and drive around to the national parks and all that, it's a lot of driving. Is there something that is available for them, like that kind of a trip?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely there is. Globus does one that takes in the national parks, like you would fly into, let's just say, Phoenix, and then head up to the Grand Canyon. Then they take you to Utah to do them, come back around and come back down again to Vegas, and you fly out of Vegas to come home.
Oh, so I mean, that would be nice for someone who doesn't
Yes.
want to do all that driving.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that gives them the opportunity to see the national parks, yet they're not the hassle of having to drive to them. Everything is taken care of for them. They've got the hotels, they've got the entrance to the parks.
And as part of the tour, you have a tour guide or tour
Yes.
director explaining everything to you.
exactly.
So important.
That's the other
So
big
you
thing.
get the
Yeah.
background. Sort of like Rick Steves, you know,
You're
where
right.
everything is
Yeah.
explained to you. You don't have to look in a guidebook, read it. These people have been doing it for years, and they tell you all about it. They answer your questions.
You
Yeah,
could miss
that's
so
really good.
much by trying to do some of these things on your own because you don't know what you're looking at.
No, and where you should go. And-
Exactly, you're
and,
right.
Oh, I missed Old Faithful because I don't know when it is.
really- yeah. And that's what happens. That's why you need to have a tour guide, and you need us to tell you which way to go on this.
Exactly. What about like a train ride kind of thing? You know, can we connect with you and say, I really just want to do that train ride that goes across Canada,
Yes.
or something
Yes.
like that?
Yes. There's one that I think is really kind of cool. It's called the Rocky Mountaineer. And you fly into, let's say, something like Calgary, Vancouver, either one, say Vancouver. Now the train only travels during the day, and at night you spend the night in a hotel in that town that you're in. And the next day you tour a little bit in that area, then you get back on the train and go to the next town. Kamloops, Jasper, all those are included in this, and you never have to sleep on the train.
Oh, and so you're really comfortable in a hotel somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that
That's what is
sounds-
they're really cool about that. There is another one that the Canadian Rail puts on that starts, I think, Toronto. It starts in Toronto and goes all the way across,
Okay,
all the way out to
that
Vancouver.
is a long.
That's a long train ride. Right. That is a long train
Well,
ride.
you're staying at hotels, and you could see Lake Louise, glaciers, the Rocky Mountains, the Canadian Rockies there, and end up in Vancouver, which is a very beautiful,
Beautiful.
green city.
And then you can go do the gardens.
Victoria Island.
Out Victoria Island with the gardens. So, yeah, that all works. Again, if you want to stay here,
If you want to stay here, and just stay within the
North America.
not necessarily the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can plan a destination. I know. I was going to ask too. Are there things for people like, say, they mention where they want to go, and say they want to go out east. They want to tour that eastern coast or something. Is there something that they can do to be involved in just being here in the U.S. and I mean, would they take a cruise? I know there's cruises up that way, but is there like tours or?
Mayflower. Mayflower is a great company. They're really based here in Illinois, in Downers Grove. They pick you up at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
they
nice.
pick you at home and take you, say it's a bus trip that you're going to be doing to wherever the bus leaves. When they're done, when you come back, they take you back home again. If you're going out on an airplane, they take you to the airport. That's part of their service
Okay.
and their packages.
That's
And
good
they
to
do
know.
offer tours up and down the East Coast, into Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, and come back down to Boston or Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And they do offer tours up and down that area, and they're guided tours.
That's also a good option for some.
Oh, I think it's a great option, and they're great company. They also do just short little trips around here. Mackinac Island,
Niagara Falls, that kind of thing.
Yes, right, and on a bus trip. So like 3 nights or 4 nights down to Branson, Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
So they do all this in that area, and Mayflower's been around for a while that I know
I
of.
think they have too. That's a familiar name. So let's get back to the more exotic, I'll use that word, trips.
Okay.
So okay, so we mentioned Tuscany, Portugal, Australia, the Dreams Vacation sites, which are in Punta Cana?
Punta Cana, in Los Cabos, Jamaica,
Riviera Maya,
Riviera Maya, Cancun. There's a number of them.
Okay. And those are easy to connect to through
Yes.
you guys go
Yeah.
go there and say we want to go with our friends or whatever, and you'll plan the trip.
We've been to a number of these different hotels, resorts, so we've got knowledge to which ones to recommend. So then we shop around and look for the best prices, and then you can make decisions, informed decisions, instead of talking to somebody 3,000 miles away on a toll-free number.
Yeah. Well, those
Yeah.
are very unsatisfying, that kind of connection, because you're like, well, I don't know. Sometimes it's someone who has a different way of communicating, and you're like, I don't really understand that, So then you're like, well, I think I agreed to the right thing, but I'm
But
not
you're not
exactly
sure. You're not sure.
No.
And that does happen. I'm sorry to say that, but that does. And that's the other reason why it's important to use a travel agent that's been around for a while, because, honey, we've been there 30 years. That's a long time.
It
And I
is.
know Georgia's been in the business a long time, too.
1974.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
there you go. That
Ay,
is a
ay,
while.
ay, ay. Ay, 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 that is a long
You've
time.
been farther than around the block.
Yeah. My wife and I used to take tour groups through Europe years ago
yeah.
in the day.
Yeah.
But recently, last year, we went to Switzerland on a part of a Globus tour. We've been to France 7 times.
Wow.
We've been taking the train, the high-speed trains in France down to Nice and Provence. Someone had just posted the other day, one of my clients, they were at the Van Gogh exhibit downtown, the interactive one, and I said, well, if you go to Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, where my wife and I were a few years ago, that's where Van Gogh lived for a year and did many of those paintings that were at the interactive exhibit.
And that's what you can
that's-
offer
yeah,
people and
right.
explain this.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
the cool part of that.
Yeah.
Because you've been there, you've experienced it, and you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If someone just came in and said, I don't know, there's so many places around the world that I want to go.
I just had a couple do that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, what would you tell them?
They came in and said, we're bored. I said, well, yeah, I guess I understand that too. So I sent them home with a cruise brochure from NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line, and they're looking at doing either the Grecian Islands. They're thinking of maybe doing some South America, the Panama Canal. So they've got their work cut out for them
Okay.
to figure out where they want to go. Then we'll set it up
And
for
they
them.
will be on board
On board very quickly, yeah.
or on board.
Both, they'll be on board and on board. Yes, exactly. Very good.
Is there any other kind of advice you would like to offer our viewers?
Plan ahead if you can. With the destination weddings and some of these bucket list trips, we start planning a year in advance.
Right,
The
okay.
early bird catches the worm. We look for the best prices, the best trip to put together. And, with cruises, Viking and Norwegian and others, they have dates for not just 2023, 2024, and 2025.
Right.
Wow.
And people are booking those.
Yes.
Viking River cruises, I was looking for somebody for 2024 for a particular date, a Rhine cruise or a Danube cruise, and a number of the cabins were already sold out.
You're like, wow.
2024.
Wow.
It's
That's
amazing.
planning ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
that they're booking that far in advance. It really is.
Kathy, you want to tell people how they can get a hold of you, and
sure.
George may be there when they call.
Okay, we are Class Act Travel. We are at 6946 West 111th Street, the corner of 111th and Worth Avenue. Our phone number is 708-448-6560. You can contact us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If you need an evening or a Saturday, just give us a holler and we'll set that up for you. That is not a problem. We've got 30 years of experience, so I think that's pretty darn good for us. So give us a holler, see what we can do. And George will help you do your destination wedding.
Fantastic. I mean, really, when it's a destination wedding, you do need a helpful hand to plan that all. So
And to get the dates for the wedding, I had the Jamaica wedding in October, a year in advance, and the date that the bride-to-be wanted, it wasn't available because the resort has 3 wedding slots per day. The day she wanted was booked already.
wow,
A year
ahead
in
of
advance.
time. So we're going to repeat again, plan ahead. And actually, I think it's part of the fun of the trip.
Well, that's
is
part
the
of it.
planning
Yes,
and
yes.
the anticipation and the
That's fun.
the excitement. So plan ahead, get a phone call into Class Act Travel, and it's just right in the neighborhood. You know, it's just down the street and over a little bit, and they'll really give you a good hand. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
George, for coming
you.
in today, and thanks for watching us on Channel 4.